Welcome to the PodFather. You can find all our episodes on podfather.me. You can also scan the QR code. You'll find my 6 other podcasts or go to roycon.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. I'm looking forward to this one because I've had a lot of fantastic podcasters on the show, but nobody with numbers like this.
Yep.
So she's the co-host of All Ears English, podcasting for 12 years since 2013. I'm not sure what the numbers are now, but I mean, when I was looking, 200 million plus downloads, you're in the 0.05% of international podcasts with 8 million monthly downloads, but also a listen score of 64, which that's kind of like Joe Rogan style. There's very few that get that high when you watch it. So please welcome Lindsay McMahon.
Thank you, Roy. I'm happy to be here, and I love to talk about podcasting. I do want to correct that number. It is 4 million monthly downloads across our network, mainly the All Ears English podcast, but we have 2 other podcasts as well. We have about 200,000 listeners, 200,000 regular listeners. So as you know, downloads are not the same as human beings, listeners. But yes, we have a large audience, and we've been doing this for a long time.
No, excellent. I suppose let's start off with having a co-host, because I've seen sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's obviously worked for you. So how did you make it work?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. So some of this is about understanding what your audience wants and needs to hear, right? So on our podcast, all 3 of them, but I'll just speak about the All Ears English podcast primarily. We teach English as a second language to adult language learners, so global professionals. And when you think about learning a language, at the level they're at, intermediate to advanced, they actually want to hear a back and forth. Language doesn't usually happen in isolation, one person speaking. There are many ESL podcasts with one host, and that's fine, but we wanted to do something unique and different. And so that's why I've always had a co-host. I never go solo on the microphone. It's not the format we have. And it's worked well to get our listeners energized. They feel like they're sitting in a cafe listening to a conversation. So it's kind of cool.
No, brilliant. And like, how did you see the growth? Because like they're massive numbers. And was it a case of chugging through, or did it take off from the start?
Actually, it kind of took off from the start. Obviously the numbers in the first year are relative, they're small compared to now, but I could see that we had something special almost as soon as we launched, because we did something a little different in my industry, in ESL. At that time, now this is 2013, Roy, so it was a long time ago. Think back, not a lot of podcasts even had the podcaster didn't even have their face on the cover. It was very almost like textbooks in the Apple podcast world. Okay. And what we said is, no, we're 2 ladies back to back with a yellow cover art, All Ears English in funky font. We're going to make a splash. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to be more true to ourselves. So we were very visible and visual from the beginning. And I think we shared it with our network heavily when we first launched, and then it kind of snowballed. So within the first couple of months, we were seeing, 5 to 10,000 downloads per episode already. Now it's a very different environment in terms of competition. So I can't guarantee that, all of the factors would be there now for someone to launch a new show. It's a different world, but we did a lot of things that we knew were going to make a splash.
Excellent. And like I've the Polish one, and I mean that does well, but nowhere near the numbers. And I do the conversation kind of thing as well. So with the other, you said you've 3. So I'm sorry, I wasn't aware. I thought because it was just this one, and I saw the numbers and everything. So what are the other 2 shows that you have?
So they're related, right? So they're for the same audience. So All Ears English is our big show, the one we're most famous for, but we do have 2 others that are sizable shows. So IELTS Energy Podcast is a test preparation podcast. There's an exam called IELTS, the International English Language Testing Service. If our listeners want to immigrate to Australia, Canada, they need a visa. To get the visa, they need this exam. It's similar to a few other visa entry exams. So we prepare them for that test. And we also sell a course. So if we want to speak later about building a business around your podcast, we sell a course related to that test. And then our second show is Business English. So it's 100% focused on that global professional who is working in English. So we just focus in on the workplace environment, professional communication skills. And we do a lot of cross pollinating audience between the three shows. And if you want, I'd be happy to talk about how that works for us too, to grow all three shows.
No, and I suppose, yeah, because I mean, not only I've got 6, but there's a lot of people out there that have more than one.
Yeah, you have 6 shows, right? So Roy, do you do a lot of work to move people between your shows to make sure people know about your other shows?
Well, I tell them, but I know that not all, because obviously the Polish one, not everybody would be into that, and say the
Okay.
crypto. And I actually created the crypto because the Awakening one's kind of exposing fraud and corruption, and it was mainly the crypto was kind of similar to expose that, but I knew not everybody would be into blockchain. But I let people know about them, and sometimes if the episode is relevant, I might put it out on both.
Interesting. Yeah. So what we do, if your audience would be interested in this, we do every few months, what I call relaunch or promote a different podcast internet, one of the 3 podcasts. So, next month, the one we're promoting is All Ears English. And so what we do is we do feed drops. So we take an episode of All Ears English, we put it on IELTS Energy, and we put another one on Business English. And then we make a special intro. And then we say, this is an episode of All Ears English. We have another podcast called All Ears English. Come over, hit follow, join us over there too. So we make sure the audience knows about the other things you have to offer, if it's the same audience, right? In your case, it sounds like it's a slightly different audience, but this can work well to grow a small network.
No, excellent. I love it. And do you host all 3 with the same platform, or are they on different ones?
Yes, we use Megaphone currently. So it's smart to host them all in the same place, because what it means is we can schedule our dynamic ads to go across our network, all 3 shows, right? They're all lined up in the same place. So when I schedule my dynamic ads, I can pick and choose. Do I want it on all 3 shows this week? Do I want it on one show? It just offers a more systematized approach.
And because most of the time, unfortunately, that kind of is set up for America. And now they're kind of rolling out a few other countries, I think the UK and everything. So I'm kind of Irish based in Poland. So, don't fall into that yet. But when you do that, does it only go on the countries that they're set up on, or is it go out everywhere then once you're putting in the ads?
No, it goes up. So I know Megaphone, and I think a lot of other hosts now, not just Megaphone, they have geo targeting capabilities. So you can select which countries to exclude and which countries to include. And you can even do it down to the city level. So if I wanted an ad to just appear in Tokyo, Japan, I have a lot of listeners in Japan, I could do that. Or not appear in Tokyo, Japan, and appear everywhere else across the whole network, or on one show, I could do that too. So this is a really cool capability when it comes to promos. So I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about that, but swapping promos for shows between shows. If I want to put a promo for my show on an English speaking podcast, I don't want to target the US, because I'm going to get native speakers of English, and my audience is non-native speakers of English. So I would ask that person to geo-target and exclude the US and Canada and the UK and Australia. So
No, that's very good. I love that. That's it. And with the ads then, because like Megaphone is basically Spotify. That's the setup of Spotify.
it's owned by Spotify, but it's not Spotify. So there's other tools. What is the name? There's another program that Spotify has for hosting. I forget what it's called now, but it's really not. It's not Spotify. What Megaphone is an RSS feed. It generates an RSS feed, and then that RSS feed goes out everywhere.
So it goes because I used to be with Anchor, and then it was Spotify. But I saw the but I think it's all the one thing now. I just see it as like Spotify and the thing.
Yeah, technically it's owned by Spotify, but Anchor is like is a different type of host, I guess. that's related to Spotify. So Spotify owns both Anchor and it's a new name, I think, and Megaphone. But it doesn't mean I have any commitments to Spotify or anything like that. It's just generating an RSS feed for me. And I can send that RSS feed wherever I want.
And do you, I mean, obviously the way that you're kind of cross promoting and everything is brilliant, but for your own stuff then, is it that clients would come in and they get an ad and you read it or you get them to do it? But you have, like, have you played around with what works and what doesn't? Is there times that you go, hey, over 30 seconds is too much? It kind of affects the
Yeah.
listenership.
Do you mean ads for brands when I work with brands, or do you try?
Inserts, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. This is an interesting thing, right? So we work with HostRed. We do HostRed ads with brands. We've worked with brands like Lululemon in the past, Indeed, Toyota. We've worked with a number of different brands. And then we also do programmatic ads. And so those ads are automatically inserted into the show. When it comes to length of HostRed ads, it is something that is challenging because sometimes you sell a 60-second ad, but when you look at your talking points, it's not 60 seconds. It's closer to a minute or two. And then it becomes kind of a back and forth with the brand where you get approval for what you've created. Yeah, we refresh our ad creative every month when we're working with a brand long term. But if you feel that 2 minutes is too long, I encourage you to push back on the brand and see if you can make something even better, even more concise than what they've sent you in your talking points. Your audience's attention is incredibly valuable and rare, and it's a privilege. So, especially if the company has purchased from you a 60-second ad, I encourage you to kind of push back a little bit in support of your audience.
And like I know with the Polish one, I use Podbean, and they put in their own kind of sponsors as such, but you can hit on what you don't want. And for example, gambling and things like that, because I'm not into gambling, I think it destroys.
Yeah, me too.
You know, they like to say McDonald's and Red Bull energy drinks, these kind of things.
Yes.
But one of the ones is because they're big spenders. I'm not sure your thoughts on it. I don't want to know your political views because
No.
judge you straight away. But
yes,
it's a hard one because there's plenty of bucks behind it. But yet, if your ad is going out and it's for Trump, people hate Trump. If it's for Biden, you've got all insides. Are people better off, even though it's got good financial potential for them? Are they better off staying away from them because they probably hurt?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think this is a personal decision. And we have a number of vast partners that we work with. We have 3 or 4 around the world that they're actually able to plug into our Megaphone setup and bring ads through Megaphone into our podcast. And when I sign on with those providers, I do go through the process of excluding categories, and I'm usually pretty strict with the categories, excluding, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, firearms, politics. I think it's better to err on the side of being careful, even if you could make a little more money, especially during political season. It's tempting, but I dread the emails from my listeners, right, that I would get. And sometimes, frankly, these things, they'll sneak in because sometimes the advertisers will classify certain ads in the wrong way. There'll be a mistake. And unfortunately, it has happened a few times. It's happened like once, and we've been advertising for a couple of years here. It's happened once that actually a ad, I think about crypto or about something, got in. And I just had to apologize and say I'm doing what I can to prevent this next time. But then you have to kind of move on because you set up the instructions and they made a mistake. And if it's happening all the time, maybe you want to cancel your contract with that provider.
And the thing with crypto is that's heavily censored at times, and there's a lot of strange things, FTX and things like that. So you can damage yourself with that. I've seen, like I got a YouTube channel without strikes and just removed. They removed it.
Really?
Yeah. And a year later, then they kind of go, "Hey, we've reviewed it, and here's your channel back." And
oh no!
Yeah,
It's so hard. It's really kind of crazy. It's a mixed blessing. We have these platforms that there are just a few big platforms, and we're sort of serving the platforms, but they have so much control. That's actually why I love podcasting. I like YouTube. But the problem with YouTube is it's one site, whereas podcasting, you're going to many, many places. I mean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then multiple apps. Yes, Apple and Spotify are the big dogs, but there are other places where people could find your podcast if they wanted to. So RSS
It's
feed keeps
actually
us.
dangerous. It like I mean, we see a load of the companies putting out. I got one on Spotify removed, and I had a friend I was doing a co-show with him. He had his own Mind Wars was his thing. They removed him, and when he tried to get the RSS feed, he had about 75 episodes to go somewhere else. They just stopped the conversation, and he never got it back.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
so he
that's smart.
had it on BitChute and YouTube, and which usually, well, he got kicked off YouTube as well. But it's like a lot of people don't think there's censorship on podcasts, but unfortunately,
Okay.
there is. I even on the meditation, I had a healing frequency one. They removed that,
Mhm.
and every time I tried to upload new ones, because I had a load of different ones, they just wouldn't upload. They just say no. So yeah, exactly. Most people wouldn't realize that can happen.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm just curious because when I'm 7 years I'm podcasting, I started the speaking one first, and when I was kind of asking for reviews and stuff like that, most people were like, "What's a podcast?" So I can only imagine what it was like 5 years previous for you when you were asking.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of? I mean, I'd say most people a lot wouldn't have known what a podcast was at that stage.
Yeah. No, we've kind of grown up with podcasting, right? So in 2013, the only real podcasts out there were podcasts. Yes. We are not the first podcast by far. I think podcasting started in 2005 or 6, or 2 maybe. But most of it was so business, small business creation, like people making their own businesses, bloggers, that kind of thing, or like tech podcasts, right? So very kind of nerdy topics. It wasn't as mainstream as it is now. We didn't have the celebrities that we have now in podcasting. I mean, I think, what is it? I think someone from the royal family just started a podcast. We've seen that. That was not happening in the 2013. So it's come a long way.
But the thing is, a lot of times you famous people coming in and they think this is going to work for them, and there's a lot that fails because
I know.
sometimes they need to have the skill set, and just because they've the name, they might get the millions at the start, and then people go, "Oh, this is not good, and I'm gone." So entertainment is like the fact that you keep them in is the most important thing.
It's the ultimate, it's a democratized way of addressing an audience because yeah, if you're not good on the microphone, maybe you're a famous actress or actor, or I don't know, just a popular figure, but maybe you're not that good on the microphone, or maybe you need to improve on the microphone. That's what I love about podcasting, right? So everyone has a voice and everyone can build their own little audience that listens to them. And it's just a little bit more fair, I think, in terms of a media channel. Yeah.
So we're like when because yours with the language, obviously, kind of promoting it, and I believe you did big like Spanish is like it's something like 32% or something in Spain and different countries like that. But can you give some tips for people on what you did, I suppose, organically to grow the channel in marketing?
Yeah, organically. So when we first launched, we got the word out through our network. We just let friends and family know, we had taught English around the world, my co-host and I, so we tried to spread the word quite a bit. And then over time, the most important thing I did in the first 6 months is we hosted a lot of guests on our show that were other teachers, and some of them had podcasts. So we immediately started collaborating. And that is what caused that immediate growth early on, is the collaborations. So they came on our show. One of us went on their show, and that got us in front of a lot of people as I guess the algorithm. I don't think there's really as much of an algorithm on Apple as there is on YouTube, but whatever there was started to get to know us, that we are everywhere. And so we grew the audience that way. So collaborations.
Yeah, backlinks, I think, is why that helps, because I had a guy on recently, and that's what he was saying. He goes on a lot of shows, and he was saying because the backlinks are helping as well with the.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think about it as backlinks. I think about it as an interview. You're actually on someone else's show. You're chatting with them. You're getting to know that host, and then you're in front of that audience, and that audience is like, "Oh, I'm learning English. oh, this is a new podcast. Oh, I'm going to go and follow that show. So links, I don't really respect links as much in the podcast.
What he was saying, you
Yeah.
100% agree with you. It's all about the
Yeah.
interview and serving the audience. But what he was saying is that it's when people were then putting his website on the show notes is what was, because kind of Google then rewarded you for it's kind of saying your site is popular, that there's a lot of people sharing your website.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, maybe. Was he also on the show, or are you talking about on his?
no, he was on my show. He was he was a search engine optimizer, kind of digital marketing that he, and he was been on over 300 shows, and I was kind of asking him how it worked for it, and that's what he was saying, that that's what
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it depends on where you're trying to get bigger. Is it Google? Is it podcasting? Is it YouTube? These are totally separate environments that require different things, right? Totally different. So I think it's rare to find someone that is huge on Google, YouTube, podcasting, social media. And that's what I recommend to new podcasters is pick a lane. Are you a podcaster? Are you a YouTuber? It requires different skills. Yes, you can publish your podcast to YouTube, and you should, but to spend hours and hours optimizing on YouTube is different from what you would do in podcasting. So when you first get started, choose a medium.
I figured it out on the podcast, because I mean, all 5 of mine got to the top 5% before getting to the top 0.5. Nowhere near yours, but still, it was happy enough. But YouTube, I was just trying, and now I'm trying to spend a bit of time on that and just work on different things. And it's building, but I see that sometimes you see people have got massive podcasts, but their YouTube might have 2,000 views or something like that. And it's, they can't figure it out. Yeah. So it makes sense. Exactly. Yeah, stay in your lane. I love that.
Stay in your lane. And then when you have a system down, expand, right? I mean, it just depends on also what is your ultimate goal with podcasting? Are you just doing it as a hobby? That's awesome. Are you trying to sell a course? Are you trying to sell live events? Are you taking ads? And then make a decision based on that, how you're optimizing. So what are the other shows in your network, Roy? What are the other topics of the shows that you have?
So I have the meditation podcast, and that's kind of it. People give me meditations as well, but I also have interviews with chakras and yoga and breathwork and things like that. And I mean, that's in the charts, 20 different countries every day. It's nice. PodFather, obviously, this one that you're doing, the speaking was kind of to help people speak, help coaches and stuff like that. So they all kind of have a mission and the awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions, because there's a load of shows out there that's going doom and gloom. And I don't want that. I want to go, okay, but we know there's doom and gloom, but what can we do about it? And it's doing well as people enjoy it, and we kind of try to keep it light and not to depress people. We want people to keep a smile on their face. So that's important.
Of course, yes, yeah.
So with the courses, then, so you created, like, because this is another way of monetizing. So you might just touch on that, please.
Yeah, of course. So in my industry, a big part of what we do as independent ESL teachers and creators is we have online courses, and we have a learning ecosystem that students can purchase a course if they hear about it from one of our podcasts, and they come into our learning ecosystem, and we offer video lessons, quizzes, a community, live speaking events. I was just on our live open conversation club that we do twice a week, where students come and we practice together as a group. And so a lot of them are intermediate to advanced English speakers and professionals, and they're looking to edge up their level and buying a course, joining one of our courses. We offer fluency, business English, a test prep. It helps them get better and feel more confident at work or in their everyday lives. So that was one of the first things that we were really promoting on our show is our courses.
I'm just curious what system you used to host it, because I was LMF. I was doing with one of them for a podcast course, and then when I paid for it and set it up, then I had to buy plugins and everything. I was like, I'm here. I'm hearing a lot now about schools. I'm looking at transferring kind of everything that I've got and just building on school.com, because there's a community base. And I'm just curious what system you use. Is this something that you've developed yourself, or have you tapped into something that's existing?
So I recently switched over. I was using the plugins, the WordPress before, but it was way too much. So we moved everything over to Learn Worlds, actually. The most common one in the US is Teachable. Most of my friends and competitors use Teachable. People use Thinkific is another one. But we use Learn Worlds because I've been really impressed with their support. I had a problem. We're about to launch a course on Monday, actually, Professional English Level 1. And I had a problem. I realized there was a problem with the quizzes on the videos. And I wrote to them and I said, this is an emergency. I'm launching on Monday. And within 8 hours, they had deployed a fix to the bug. And that was the first bug I've seen in 2 years. They deployed a fix right away and in the code, and it was fixed. I mean, that's pretty incredible in terms of support. They're on it. And so I've been pretty happy with Learn Worlds.
And just with Megaphone, just curious about their support, because with Anchor, because when I started first, Anchor, brilliant support. But then when Spotify took over, and I kept it for kind of competitive reasons, because I said, since they're kind of competing with Apple, that's why I keep a lot of them there. But their support isn't great. But Pod
Yeah.
is incredible. It's like within
Oh,
2 hours, they're back to like they're very
that's
fast.
that's amazing. Yeah, no, Megaphone support has been good. Megaphone is what they call, I guess, the enterprise level. So there's a lot of big networks on there. So I think they have no choice but to have good support. Um, So when I go in there, there's a problem, I write in the chat and I will get a response and mostly solve my problems within that half hour, 45 minutes. Just sometimes I have to wait a while for them to write back. But if I hang out there and do other things and wait, we can usually solve the problem. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's enterprise level. So they can't just be like back to you in a week, right? Yeah.
And with kind of the workload then, because I mean, you've probably come across a lot of people, they'll have one show and they just say, this is too much work, and they throw in the towel after 10 episodes or something like that. You've got 3. You might kind of explain how you make it work, because obviously it's a lot of work, and you mentioned the courses and you're going online and stuff like that. But what way have you systemized it to make it work?
Yeah, it's called the pod fade, right? People think they want to, especially in the pandemic, this happened. A lot of people, I'm going to start a podcast, right? Because they're home and everything in quarantine. And then after 10 episodes, they're not gaining traction and they realize this is actually hard work, right? So a couple of the key things that we did that I think have made it easier, because we published 10 episodes across the entire network. We published 5 on All Ears English per week, 3 on Business English, and 2 on IELTS Energy. That's 10. I believe. And one of the things we did early on was we originally started and we said, okay, we're going to publish a half-hour episode twice a week. Pretty average. That's kind of what most people do, right? But then at some point we realized these episodes are actually a lot of work to make. For a 30-minute episode is quite a bit of content. What if we just split these episodes, kind of create the same amount of content, 30 minutes, but you get 2 episodes, right? So instead of 2 30-minute episodes, you get 4 15-minute episodes per week. So that actually helped us because it meant that we were publishing more frequently, that if you want to get subscribers, they want to see when they find your show that you have a lot of episodes in your queue. Otherwise, why would they subscribe to your show? Right. And so that frequency of publishing definitely helped us in terms of downloads and gaining new listeners. And if you think about the mental hurdle of creating a 30-minute episode, and not even an interview podcast, right? This is a content, you have to plan it, versus a 15, it's huge, the difference in my mind. And beyond that, we created a template. So there is a progression of every All Ears English episode of what it feels like to consume this podcast. We start with a lively conversation, getting at the topic. We teach vocabulary. We do a role play. We have a takeaway. It's very segmented out. Even though it feels natural to the listener, you wouldn't just go on and say, okay, hey, Michelle, what are we going to talk about today? Just twiddling your thumb. No. There's always a plan. And my team plans the episodes. So when we show up, those episodes are planned, they're ready. It's a very tight system that we have.
Like, obviously the 5, I presume they go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but the ones that are 2, do you put them out exactly the same days, because that's one thing I learned with the Polish ones. I put them out Monday and Wednesday, and I put them out past midnight, because I'm catching all the different countries, because I'm big in the US as well. And that seemed to be, I put that down to why it grew so much. So I'm just curious with the other ones.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so what we've done, we've adjusted the days a little bit. I work with a consulting company, and they help me to look at our growth and grow the show, and give me data, actual data, so I understand how to grow the show. And with them, we looked at the spread across the entire network. And our goal, we said we want to have a episode of All Ears English, the network, coming out each day. So we planned it that way. So you look at the spread, and you want to publish at least one episode of something from one of the three shows each day. So that's what we did. And then I mean, that's basically that helps for sure. So being strategic about when you're publishing, timing. We also publish at 1 a.m. Eastern time. For some reason, we started doing that, and we've continued on the exact same schedule ever since 2013. I just never messed with it. I guess if you have a global audience, it kind of doesn't matter, but I try to think, okay, it publishes at 1 a.m. in New York. My listeners who live in the US on the East Coast, it will be ready for them when they commute to work. You try to kind of envision that listener and when they want to consume your show.
That's what I thought as well. I said, I'm catching everybody in the morning. If they're bringing the kids to school or something, that's the time that they can listen to it. And you see it. I mean, straight away, you see in the first couple of hours, the numbers going through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, there was a controversy, and, our industry got a little bit disrupted because there was an issue going on with automatic downloads happening, right? I don't know if you heard about that. I'm sure you did, Roy. In 2023, September, Apple made an update. This was an Apple issue. They made an update to prevent automatic downloads. So, the idea is when someone follows your show, it will download all the episodes in the catalog, right? So those aren't real downloads. Those aren't real human beings. So now we're shifting our focus with my consulting team over to human beings. That's why I mentioned our number of actual human beings coming back to the show, 200,000 on one of the shows, because that's really what matters. Downloads are kind of, unfortunately, still being used as the metric for advertising, but I think we're moving towards the model of how many people could you fill in this room if this were a live speaking event, right? So
the thing is, you must get it a million times worse than me, but I get bombarded with people promoting. But there's people I know. There's one guy I know, and he was getting small numbers, but he paid for like 100,000, and it went up and went down. And it's like, and that's an ego thing.
No, I would never pay for no. Yeah. Don't even no.
How do you filter the amount of people that are kind of pitching, and they're probably trying to get on your show or do advert? Because I get so many pitches. So
I use a plugin called SaneBox, and anytime you can tell if something is a pitch. I get all kinds of pitches. Marketing teams trying to help me advertise my courses, but I would never pay for downloads. I absolutely don't do it. Don't just grow your podcast. You don't want, why bother? Grow your show, help your audience. I think if you're thinking about doing that, stop and come back to, why am I even podcasting? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? And who are the people that need my help? Come back to your audience. And what do I believe about this industry? Otherwise, don't waste your time. It's making podcasting look bad for all of us.
And with the social media then, because I can engage and I learn a bit from it, but with the size that yours is, how do you navigate comments and things like that?
No, our social media is not huge. I think on our Instagram channel, we have about 75,000 followers. Honestly, I was talking to my co-host yesterday about this. Social media is not something we have put a lot of time and effort and energy into, because I'm a firm believer. There are different theories on this, but I'm in the camp that says that people don't really move from Instagram to podcasting. It's a very different type of consumer. And if they don't know how to download a podcast, you can't really teach them in a video and Instagram and move them. You're going to see it's a very low ROI on your time. So when I think about growing my show, like I said, it's my primary channel, my podcast. I think about guesting opportunities. What shows can I provide value on and come on as a guest? And then who can I have on my show? That is the fastest way to grow your show. I think, yeah, Instagram. I'm not very passionate about social media, to be honest. It's not my passion.
No,
Yeah.
so what the fascinating thing is, especially for the speaking, I was always asking people about the social media, which ones they do, and you've everybody saying, "Oh, if it's a business, go to LinkedIn."
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody hates it. Everybody. It's the thing
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
honest. It's like, I mean, Instagram and stuff. Like I started doing it, and now I just kind of link to Facebook, and it does it automatically. But
Yeah.
I just don't like it. But I made the Facebook groups work, which might work for you.
Okay.
Like because
Yeah.
what I did is I with the Polish, I'd go to like Polish foreigners in Warsaw, foreigners in Poland.
Okay.
Chicago is big for Polish there, New York, UK, Ireland. And then I'm sharing the episode there, which is the groups that I reach and they engage. And then I've learned
Yeah.
by clicking, when they like it and give a thumbs up, you click on it, then you can invite them to follow. And they
Yeah.
just, it's growing and growing. And that's the way it's just slow. Like I do everything like that. I just, once it's increasing, I watch the metrics and just as it's
Yeah.
increasing constantly, then you know you're doing something right.
That's awesome. Yeah, it depends on the age group of your listener too. I mean, if your listeners tend to be maybe Gen X, Generation X, or baby boomer, then Facebook seems like a good plan, right? It makes sense. That age group is on there. I do think LinkedIn could be an exception. If you are doing anything related to business, LinkedIn might be a better investment of time, right? And I would like to spend more time building up our LinkedIn presence. I should, but as you know, Roy, you're busy as an entrepreneur. I mean, how do you decide to spend your time? But something like Instagram, we just kind of maintain it and to sort of be social with our audience, but I don't place a ton of value on it as a growth channel. Yeah.
And like when you're are you daily then, like how often are you actually recording? What's the amount of time that you're doing? Because I know you said you schedule it and do the 15 and there's a lot, you have a team now that you can do it, but
Yeah.
how much time do you actually put in?
Yeah. So previously, up until the end of 2024, we had 4 podcasters, including me, that were active on the microphone. One of them left our team in February. So now we have 3 podcasters, including me, that are active across all 3 shows. So what that looks like is I record with podcaster 1 with Michelle once a week and Aubrey once a week. And these shows go out to all 3. These episodes go out to all 3 podcasts. So it's usually for me 2 sessions a week, usually about 2.5 hours, something like that. So it's about 5 hours a week, 5 to 7 hours a week that I spend on the microphone. It's a real commitment. But when we talk about making a change, I do envision sometime in the next couple of years pulling back and getting new team members, new co-hosts, but that's a real intentional process. It's a big deal to introduce your audience to a new host, and I'm not going to do it casually, right? I'm going to make sure that person is right, make sure they're in it for the long haul. Listeners get attached to hosts, you know?
It's
So,
happened to me with the Polish one because
yeah.
we're 5 years done, and I wanted to make sure that I got the right person. I have to have the energy and everything. So it took me a while to get the right person because you're only going to hurt yourself. Because if you can have somebody, they can have the language skill, but they mightn't have the personality. At the end of the day, it's people like they're like, I mean, I've listened to the show, like you're laughing and joking. It's like entertaining, and you're going,
Yeah.
because obviously English is my first language, but still I can see how beneficial and just the style that you've got, why people would keep coming back. And
Yes.
if you get the wrong person for that, they could say everything perfect. It's like I even met people here, they'd be saying, oh, the 16, 10, simple present, simple past. And yeah,
No.
you have a conversation with them and they can't have a conversation. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's a real art. So I think this is something luckily I haven't had to do very much. And Michelle's been with me for 10 years and Aubrey for 5, and I'm so grateful for that. My long-term team members is incredibly important, but I do know eventually we'll have to add, new team members, and it'll be an art and a science, right? Probably more an art. a lot of intuitiveness filling into who is this person? Do I feel in my gut that they're a right match for what we're doing here? So that will be an adventure coming up.
Listen, thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved what you shared. You might let people know where they can find you, Lindsay.
Oh, absolutely. So go on over to All Ears English Podcast. If you're listening to this inside a podcast, right, you can just open your search bar, type in All Ears English, and hit the follow button. Again, as you know, we've talked about we publish 5 days a week on the show. So
Sure, but the link's both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much.
of course.
So that's all for the PodFather. You'll find all our episodes on podfather.me. Scan the QR code. You'll find my 6 podcasts that we mentioned, or go to roycollin.com. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.org. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. And when you check out Lindsay's, do the exact same. Give her a 5-star rating because it really helps more people get to hear it. Until next week, take care.